So today we're going to be going over number ones from March. I got about a week into March before I got kind of sick, and then me and my boss decided that I should just stay home for the safety of our store. But I think Diamond had only shipped until like the third week of March anyway, so I don't think I missed like too much. But a lot of good stuff came out before COVID hit, and then there's like absolutely nothing for April, which is kind of crazy and has to be somewhere in the history books of comics, right? This whole like virus thing. Anywho, we're just gonna jump into what I actually did manage to pick up for March, and here it is! Alright, here we go. Woo! Okay, so first one up is called Join the Future. It's by Zach Chaplin, I believe is how you pronounce it. He's done Port of Earth and Eclipse. I haven't read either of them, but they're pretty high up on like people's recommendations list. A lot of people talk about it in my shop a lot. So I saw a chance at a number one from him and I grabbed it. And I'm pretty glad that I did. And it is about this small town, the last of the real small towns, fighting against this evil corporation that's trying to get them to assimilate into this city. The city promises that everyone be well, there's plenty of food, like it almost seems too good to be true. It's a little too sinister. The small town has kind of like a Western vibes. A lot of the people are like ranchers or farmers. And again, they're trying to get back to like the root of America, so it's a little more pioneering. There's already been a whole lot of conflict in this number one. There's lots of extras in the backs, which I thought was pretty interesting. I really like the art, and if this holds up to the writer's reputation, I have a feeling that this is going to be a really interesting series, and hope that it's longer than just like one volume, because you can do a lot here. It's just a good old gentrification story. Next up is called Mercy. This one is by Marika and Dolfo. I think I said that right. They are one of my favorite people to follow on Instagram. They have super cute, super sexy, like their work, most of their artwork and their writing is like 18 plus. Like I have to put a disclaimer on this writer because I don't want to get in trouble or anyone else to get in trouble, but you pretty much have to be 18 or over to view their artwork. They did something called Unnatural, they did something called Unsacred, a lot of people are undressing, and that's why I'm gonna have to put the 18 plus over it. This one, compared to the other two, is a little bit more tame. Granted, there is a scene in a brothel with this three-way, but compared to Unnatural and Unsacred, this is almost PG-13. Now, with that said, the artwork, the coloring, all of it is gorgeous. It's really like soft, kind of naughty. I just really like this person and like what they create, and I, again, really hope that people can like jump on this train. I think it's someone they need to watch. Unnatural just came out of the woodwork and like killed it, so I think this is going to be another number one that's good to grab. There's also been a few art germ variants already, let alone all of the other covers that this series has come out with. It's really hard not picking this one up in issues just because of how gorgeous it is. I'm gonna wait for the trade, and who knows, maybe the trade will be really fancy and be as elegant and beautiful as the book Mercy. Now, what is it about? There's this town. There seems to be some force of evil that just like won't leave it alone. It's been a year since this big incident in this town happened and they lost a lot of people, but now it's back. You follow this woman who's having flashes of evil, you follow this little orphan girl and all the terrible things she has to go through, and then of course there's Mercy. Mercy also seems to be answering to like this man, and so I don't know if she's like tied to him or like this is kind of like her keeper or this is like the only way she can move town to town. Like it's kind of like a settler, it's an old mining town, there's like kind of electricity. And so I imagine a woman walking around by herself would be kind of hard to pull off. I'm really interested in the story, I'm really interested in the character Mercy, and can't tell if it's a supernatural vigilante or if she's just like some cool assassin. Either way, there's a little bit of magic, there's a little bit of sex, and there's a lot of strong feminine energy, and I'm here for it. And that pretty much sums up Andolfo's career, I would say. So yeah, that's it. Read Mercy! If you're 18 or over. So this next one was given to me for free. I typically do not purchase Marvel issues. There was a few times where I tried and it just didn't seem worth the hassle. But since I got this for free, I thought I'd review it. And it's The Road to Empire. Now, first off, $4.99. It feels a little light. And I wouldn't complain too much, but they said that this title is supposed to cover 52 different series, which means there's like 52 different issues, which means this series alone is going to cost me $260 before tax. And I can't play that game. I'm not here to play that game. They do this like hyper-realistic, almost Alex Ross type art for like the present, and then they have like a lot of history lessons and explanations that are done in a more traditional Darwin Cook, toony, really vibrant, a little bit more flat, just little history lessons, little intros, again a lot of setup, and then there was this moment where something cool actually happened, and they pulled it off really well. And then they shrugged it off and threw it away immediately. Like, the way it was done was, like, really pretty. The moment and, like, the cliffhanger and just, like, this build-up to, like, this incident, I was like, wow! For Road 2, like, we haven't even gotten started and you guys did that. And then it was, like, they just shrugged it off. Like, it had no effect. Like, this, like, big incident, this big thing happened, and you thought something... anything would happen, and it didn't. And they were just like, time to carry on. And again, that's why I don't read Marvel. I have a sour history with them. I know there's a lot of like one-shot series out there, but as far as like continuing, following an event, I haven't found my one yet. And this was a decent start. This was really great for a Marvel noob, a total, like, don't know too much about Marvel. This was, like, nice and easy to understand. Art was good. I don't care. The price isn't in my favor. The amount of collecting, I'm not totally in love with. But I can say that this issue was okay. And for kind of knowing the Meet the Squirrel story, which I actually thought was like a weird Vision redo, and like knowing a little bit of what's going on in the Marvel Universe, this was actually a really decent introduction and a really good way to explain and set up the storyline. Speaking of Marvel, this next one is from someone who was killing it previous to COVID, and that's Jonathan Hickman. Now he's over at Image with his newest title, Decorum! I complained about the X-Men series for like 6 videos, if you want to go and look at that, and not that I have any complaints about this one, but you're gonna see a lot of similarities between that series and this series, and Manhattan Projects, and East to West. But Hickman has like a certain like list he has to hit in order for it to be considered a Hickman book. And that list includes futuristic blueprints and or graphics, fake alphabet and or language, lots of dots, lots of circles, lots of black and white. Fake history lessons written in like schematics, blueprints, or essays. Like you could pick up a random nameless issue, flip through it, see one of his graphs, and just know that it's a Hickman's graph. And that's totally fine. If all of this stuff is connected, if it's all one big universe and he's got some timeline for it, I'll totally hear him out. But considering it was done in a Marvel book, I don't know. I have a hard time believing that it's all gonna be one big world, but I guess we'll see. Okay, so now that I'm done complaining about Hickman, let's just talk about this series. I liked it. It's hyper-futuristic, which isn't a surprise, with bits of history. Again, very Hickman-like. I really liked the art for it. It has a mix of like paintings and then almost like a sketchy slash heavy ink sketchbook kind of feel. Like the paintings remind me of like Black Science, and there's not too many of them. There's more of like a few panels until it dives into this almost like sketchy, heavy ink, Jim Mafu style. It's a little cleaner than Mafu, but there's a lot of similar like shapes and like indie designs. Like I can see the influences that are coming from this book. Great art, not bad on like how thick of a book you get for $4.99. A lot of these are $4.99 and this is definitely one of the bigger ones. Definitely get your money's worth. The story I'm a little iffy on. And if I'm honest, that's only because there have been a lot of times where I jump into a Hickman story, get through all of the details, all of these like civilizations, and then he gets to the end and he kind of just like gives up. Okay, so what's the actual story about? Well, there's a virus. Yep, it's a plague story. There's a virus and a lot of people get taken out. It's like super into the future, but because of the disease, they've obviously hit a wall. And this girl is a runner. She delivers packages and she seems to be indebted to somebody. She goes to get this really tough job done, and when she gets there, she runs into this female assassin. Now the female assassin's really proper. She's almost like a headmistress to like a finishing school. She doesn't like when people swear. Like she's really stern and really deadly. So my guess is this runner is gonna go under the wings of this assassin. I want to say there's more to it. Again, it's really thick for being $4.99. I didn't quite understand the beginning, and it jumps between the two art styles and is a little difficult to read. So if someone can explain that to me, that would be great. I don't know if I'll be picking up any of the other ones, but if you like Jonathan Hickman and his style and the whole Hickman world, it's a very Hickman book. The dialogue, the attitude, a little of it reminds me of Dying in the Dead. But like I said, when it comes to Hickman, he just seems, for me, he seems to start at like full force, gets bored, starts something else, and it's always a light landing. Up next is something I'm really excited to get in trade. I'm really trying not to collect series and issues, but this is another one of them that's kind of difficult to like not do. So it is The King of Nowhere. It's from the mastermind who is making Ice Cream Man right now. If you haven't picked up that anthology, honestly, if you see any of the issues for cheap, grab them. If you see any of the issues at all, like I said, it's an anthology. There's a thin line holding them all together, but if you come across Ice Cream Man, definitely pick it up. And because Ice Cream Man is so good, and they're talking about making it into a show, I have full faith that King of Nowhere is going to be just as wild. And this first issue kind of already proved that. The artwork is a perfect reflection of the place Nowhere itself. It's pretty, it's vibrant, it's wild, and just a little unsettling. So this guy is pretty sure he's having a dream. He's walking through this like desert landscape. He keeps coming into contact with all these weird creatures. Somebody's head's upside down, somebody has a fish head, somebody has antlers, somebody's part lion, just weird dreamlike things. The further he gets into town, the more of a ruckus he causes, but he's so confident that what he's experiencing isn't real that he's just willing to fight anybody. I, again, am really excited for the trade in this. I really liked this opening. There's a lot of like self-reflection. The artwork for it is gorgeous. And the end had a cliffhanger that reminded me of the movie Identity. This one's only $3.99. I don't know if it's limited. I don't know if they're gonna go on forever. But seeing how good Ice Cream Man is doing, it might not be a bad idea just to have this one in your collection. Now I know that last book might seem a little strange, but the real strange adventure is Strange Adventures. That's right! The team who brought you the masterpiece Mr. Miracle is back. Honestly, they're two of my favorite artists, and that's probably why I'm hyping this book up so much. But I haven't been disappointed by a Gerard and King story yet, and so I'm gonna just hop on every train that passes through. So this first issue was pretty simple and gets down to the core of the story immediately. There's no effing around. So after the hero, Adam Strange, puts out a book, some of his actions during the war are now coming into question, whether it was right or wrong. Poor Adam the whole time is just yelling, "I did what I had to do to win." And there might be some evidence against that. I don't know. We're gonna see a hero actually have to go through a war trial. I think we're gonna have another existential crisis like we did in Mr. Miracle, where this guy's gonna have to reflect on everything he has done to protect his family. This is one of 12. Like I said, they're on number 3. There's a lot of stuff going on with DC, and so hopefully we'll get to see this run to the full end. Which I really hope so, because this first issue was emotional, was funny, was drawn beautifully. This first issue just proves that they can do it again. I think having this number 1 won't be a bad idea, considering how good Mr. Miracle is. I think this one might be, if not better. And honestly, anything these two do almost becomes a classic instantly. So if you're looking for number 1s to invest in, Strange Adventures isn't a bad one. And if you're looking for a really good piece of art / literature, it's definitely here. And that's it. That's all I've got. March is super short, thankfully. My wallet's happy about it. Again, there was nothing for April, and so I guess I'll see you in May.